Now let's talk about how we can use our SQL queries which are having the aggregate functions in them inside an Apex code. So when you write a SQL query with aggregate functions, then the output will not be the list of S objects. The output will be the list of aggregate result or an array of aggregate result. And from this aggregate result, you need to get your specific field value or aggregate functions return value. For example, let's say I have an SQL query on opportunity object, and this SQL query has two aggregate function. The first one is to find out the average amount and the second one is to get the maximum amount. Now if you use this SQL query in Apex code, then you need to get the output inside an aggregate result array, and from this aggregate result array, if you want to get the average amount, which is the first expression in our SQL query, then you need to use the get method, and within this get method you need to specify expr0. So what is this expr0? It means expression 0. So if you use aggregate functions inside your SQL query, then each of these aggregate functions are treated as an expression. And the first aggregate function is going to be expr0, the next one would be expr1, and so on. So if you want to get the average amount, then you need to pass expr0 in the get method, but if you want to get the maximum amount, then you can pass expr1, and so on. But retrieving the aggregate functions value in such a way always makes your code hard to read, because if you pass this code to next person, he will not understand what is expr0 here. To avoid this, you can use alias in your SQL query, where you can specify the column name of a particular aggregate function's output. For example, if you want to get the average amount, then you can name it as average amount, which is avg amount. You can name your max amount output to max amount, and now in your get method you can simply pass average amount and max amount instead of passing expr0 and expr1. So this makes your code more readable, and now the next person would directly understand that what you are trying to get here. So let's go back to our developer console and let's try out these advanced SQL queries inside the Apex code. So here in my developer console, first I'm going to write an SQL query on opportunity object, and this will be like select stage name, max of amount, then min of amount, and then maybe like average of amount from opportunity. Let's group by stage name, and this would be our SQL query. Now if you want to retrieve the result from this SQL query, then you need to use aggregate array, which will be like aggregate result, and let's call our result as maybe grouped result. So that's it. Now the next step would be to iterate over this grouped result and then print the stage name, the max amount, the min amount, and the average amount. So I'm going to use a for loop here, and this for loop will have aggregate result as its data type, and let's give our local variable a name as result, and we are going to iterate over the grouped result. And within this for loop, I'm going to use a debug statement, and I'm going to print the stage name first, and the stage name would be result dot get, and since this is a normal field, I can directly specify the stage name here. Now let's also print the max amount, min amount, and average amount. So instead of using the average amount or minimum amount or max amount, I am using expr0, which refers to the first expression, which is max amount, expr1, which refers to the second expression or second aggregate function, which is minimum of amount, and the third one is expr2, which refers to the third aggregate function. Now let's execute our code. It should work fine and we should get all our result inside the debug logs. So here I'm getting my stage name, then the max amount, the mean amount and the average amount. But now instead of using these expression values, I'm going to alias my column names. So I can name my max amount to maybe like max amount. Let's name min amount to min amount, and make sure that you don't give a comma between the function and the alias. You can leave a space in between or you can avoid the space as well. So it's up to you if you want to give a space between your function and the alias, and it's not mandatory. Let's alias our third column as well, which is average amount. And now we need to make these changes to our get function as well. So I'll use average amount, min amount and max amount. And let's execute our code again. So we'll get similar output, but this time our code is more readable. So this is how you can use aggregate queries within Apex code, and this is how you can alias your column names. So that's all in this video. In the next video, we are going to talk about SOQL queries in for loops, or in short, SOQL for loops.